Working with physical pain using EFT. Quite often it's possible to get significant changes using EFT on physical pains as long as you follow 3 simple rules. The first rule has to do with identifying the actual location of the pain. Oftentimes when we think about pains, we just think, I have this back pain or I have this neck pain. That's not specific enough for the tapping. What you need to do is identify exactly where you feel that pain. So for instance, instead of back pain, I would need to say tip of my left shoulder blade. Now, that's the difference really between, let's say, sending a letter addressed to UK and sending a letter that has the postcode identified on it. In the first case, it'll just go round and round and round and maybe land somewhere. And in the second case, it's going to go straight to the address where it's needed. That's exactly the same thing with the tapping. Identifying the location precisely gives an instruction to your brain and the energy system as to exactly where to apply the healing effects of the tapping. So, tip of my left shoulder blade rather than back pain. Now, the second important tip is to identify the quality of the pain. When you think about it, pains usually have a quality. They're sharp, or they're intermittent, or they're hot or cold. What is it for you? I might use a word like throbbing to add to this throbbing pain on the tip of my left shoulder blade. In fact, is the word pain exactly right? Pain, ache, hurt, they're all different. Think about how it is for you. So I might end up with my tapping phrase being, even though I have this throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, to work effectively, I would begin by repeating that setup statement 3 times and then taking the negative statement out of it and tapping each of the points in our sequence, like this. Throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. On each point, throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. Taking my time and tuning into the physical sensations. Throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. This throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. This throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. This throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. This throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. This throbbing ache on the tip of my left shoulder blade. Now, the third thing is to measure the intensity of the pain at the beginning point. So you would set up the description of the location, the description of the quality, and the number that relates to the intensity of the feeling on the 0 to 10 scale before you begin the tapping. So now that I've done a round, I assess whereabouts I am compared to the beginning point. So let's say the intensity of my pain was 8 at the beginning point. Once I've finished up on the top of the head point, I have 3 measures to go back to. The intensity, is it still 8? Where is it on the 0 to 10 scale right now? The location, is it still on the tip of my left shoulder blade? You may be interested to discover that pains move around. They move from the left to the right side of the body. They'll move from the shoulder blade to the back of the neck, to the top of the head. You follow it, however it's showing up for you. And then I need to ask myself, is the quality still the same? Is it throbbing? Once you've assessed these 3 measures, you're in a position to create a new setup statement, assuming that there's been change in one or other of these areas. So how is it now? Let's say it's now a sharp throb at the base of my lower back and the intensity is 6. I make a statement which says that. Even though I have this sharp ache at the base of my lower back, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then continue tapping. And then again, assess the 3 measures. Oftentimes, we'll find that with a few rounds of tapping, what was an intense pain completely disappears, taking a matter of minutes. If you find that the pain reduces to a certain extent but doesn't clear completely, that's the time to ask yourself a question. If there were an emotion connected to this pain, what might it be? Perhaps you'll get an answer like sadness or anger. That's the point where you switch from focusing on the physical nature of the pain to addressing the perhaps underlying emotional component that's going with it. So for example, even though I have this sadness, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then continue tapping using the full range of points in the sequence until at the finished point you assess again the intensity of the physical and emotional feelings. In this way, it's possible to address both physical pain and the underlying emotional components that often go with physical pain.